Welcome to the next devlog. In the last devlog, I successfully finished a small game loop and was super excited. I played through it a few times and I definitely saw a bunch of areas where I could start maybe filling in some of the details, make some of the changes to really make everything feel better before moving on and adding more game loops and more stories and more characters. Also, I was getting bored running through the same game loop over and over with testing and really wanted to fill out some stuff just to make things a little more exciting for myself, and also address some things that felt just a little off or things were slightly just incomplete. Let's start with room updates. Rooms now have a trap layer, and this trap layer is used not only for room traps or obstacles, or in this case, thorny looking bushes that don't actually hurt anybody right now. Also, things like these wooden trees can appear, which can grant the player more resources when destroyed, which can be used for various things in the game. Adding these little areas into certain rooms just kind of makes rooms a little bit more different, and it gives the player something to look for, and also as these traps or the spiky plants will later be a little more dangerous, it'll give a new flavor to each room that they're encountered in. And that might not sound super interesting on the surface, but it does open up a lot of opportunity for different room types, different traps, just different obstacles and interactions between the player and enemies. And then I decided to do something completely against what I said I would do before, and I implemented a feature that does not have a reason to be implemented yet, but it looks good. I've added in the day and night system. And while later I want this to actually have an impact on what enemies can spawn and certain events that can happen, for right now it just makes the, area look darker or lighter depending on the time of day, and it also triggers lights on the buildings at night. This also gave me an opportunity to make a torch weapon because I really like lighting effects and a torch weapon is always cool. On top of that, I added in the start of the weather system. And again, just like the day and night cycle, this doesn't make any mechanical difference right now. It's entirely visual, but it looks pretty good. There's rain, there's some wind. Fog is definitely a work in progress. That does not look how I want it to look at all, but with the various different weather types that can occur and the day and night cycle, the world feels a little bit more alive, and I really like that. Enemies were updated as well. There was a feature that I used to have with my enemies in a prior version of the game that I hadn't added yet, and I completely forgot about adding into the game, and that's context-based steering. For those that don't know, steering is usually done by creating raycasts off of a character like this, and then as that character moves from point A to point B, if those raycasts collide with anything, the direction the character is going is then recalculated and shifts a little bit to navigate around objects, or steers around them. I've coupled this with an update to the basic enemy AI to where now when they get into a position before they attack the player, they'll begin circling around the player either one direction or another. And while this does give sort of a moving target for the player, it really helps alleviate the sort of visual issue I had with all of the enemies running in a straight line and then just standing there ready for the player to attack whenever they wanted. Now they'll move back and forth before they prepare their attack, and coupled with steering, this can create some really fun navigation where the characters will start rotating around their target and then run into some obstacles that they'll then further increase or decrease the circle they're running, and it can create some really neat, complex looking movement interactions that are really pretty simple. And you may have already noticed this, but now the characters visibly hold their weapons all the time, before the characters and enemies that show weapons that they're holding. This was something I had before, and I had a little bit trouble managing the Y sort with it, so the weapons would disappear or end up behind or in front of things when they shouldn't have. And I've got it pretty figured out now, and this is what I've wanted to see probably for a long time. To get this to work and look visually nice, I did remove the hands from all of the characters, but there's never going to be an instance where a character is not holding a weapon or shield or something. So I think visually it's always going to look good. It's not going to look like anything's out of place because there won't be people running around without limbs. Someone's always going to be holding something, and I think that's great. I think it adds a lot more character and flavor to each encounter that you have, but also I think it makes individual enemies look a little more telegraphed in what they're going to use. When you see an archer now, they're going to be holding their bow. When you see a knight, they're going to be holding a sword and shield. And if they switch their weapons now, there's going to be a visual indicator when that happens that'll really help make things more clear for the player of what they're about to encounter. And to follow that up, and you've probably noticed this already, but I've changed the walking animation for the characters as well. There was something with how I had the sliding feet before that while it looked okay, the more I looked at it, it just didn't seem to feel like the character was moving with the ground the way that it should feel. I don't know how to describe this. It felt weird. It felt off. So I changed it now into this more of like a jumpy sort of thing. And I like this a lot more. The more you look at this, the less it looks like actual real movement. But at the same time, in motion during gameplay, it fits a lot better and it makes sense. It handles moving in 4 directions effectively without looking like legs are not moving the way they should because it's more of a bounce. And I like this. This is what I'm going to stick with, I think. I've said that like 4 times, but this is the one, pretty sure. And there's been a lot of other things behind the scenes too. I've been spending a lot of time working on refactoring code, making things more efficient, and trimming out a lot of the more complex ideas that no longer fit with the smaller defined game loops that I have. I had quite a few things that involved complex faction interaction or events that would happen over the course of in-game months that just won't work or fit well with the new smaller game loops focused on individual smaller stories that add up into like a bigger overarching story. And so, while I'm really happy with the new direction we're going, and I think this is great, there's a lot of cleanup of stuff that just is kind of in the way and making moving forward just a little bit more difficult. So I'm taking some time to really clean up all this code, set things forward, really make sure that I plan out the next steps accordingly, so that way everything that I do from here until the completion of the game has meaning and will be used, and will be created a little bit more effectively than before. I'm finally really understanding how to leverage the resources in Godot, and I think that's been a huge game changer, and it's kind of silly how long it's taken me to really grasp how to use these effectively. But now that I know, there's so many things that I could have done just a little bit better and maybe just a lot more efficient, not only for how things currently are, but to make things grow beyond what they are as well. For instance, right now, if I was using resources, it'd be a lot easier to create like a bestiary where the player could look up every enemy they fought. But right now, as opposed to loading the data from resources, I have to instance each enemy and then sort of hide that enemy and pull the data from it. And it's a lot more effort and kind of takes a little bit more. It's not as fun. So I want to change some things there. Really improve the code base, make things better, stronger, more efficient. That's kind of where I'm at right now. What's really interesting, and while I'm excited for how the direction of the game is going, and I'm excited to clean up some of this code, I need to find some new ideas to put in this as well, because while I'm taking out some really cool, big, grand ideas that no longer fit, that kind of is starting to leave a small void that needs to be filled. So my next steps are to sit down, plan out the rest of the game, all the characters that are going to be in it, the enemies, the mechanics, adding in the new stuff, making sure that the things that I'm planning on removing should be removed. And then after all that, maybe, just maybe, I'll tell you what the name of the game is going to be. I'm still really excited for the direction this project is going. I feel really good about it. I enjoy that this has been such a learning experience for game development, planning, project planning, everything involved, and I'm really excited to see this through to the end. And I appreciate everyone who's taken the time to watch all these videos. I'm sure there's quite a few people who have seen a couple of these who think that I should have gone back to how things were before. A part of me thinks that too. I've definitely looked at some of my old videos and thought to myself, wow, this wasn't that bad. Why did I think this was terrible at the time? And I think that's part of the learning experience too. But anyway, thanks again for listening to this video or watching it or something. And I'll see everyone in the next one.